This is how I made homemade chicken broth. I had these rotisserie chicken carcasses left over from a gathering and I didn't want them to go to waste, so I decided to turn them into chicken broth. I put each carcass in a pot and then filled it with about 8 cups of water. While that's coming up to a boil, I'm getting started on the vegetables and I'm adding celery, carrot, onion, garlic, and then herbs. Most of these ingredients I have in my fridge because Thanksgiving is this week and I'm trying to be resourceful and use mostly the parts that would be otherwise thrown away. So like the carrot peels, the carrot tops, bottoms, the celery top. I know a lot of people who make their own chicken broth recommend to keep all the vegetable scraps every time they cook in a Ziploc bag and then leave it in the freezer for when they want to make chicken broth. They can just pull that out, and I think I'm going to start doing that because it does feel nice giving this food a second life. I would have thrown away the chicken carcass. I would have thrown away the carrot peels, the tops of the celery. Once I had all the pieces that I wanted, I went ahead and washed them. I evenly distributed the vegetables between 2 pots that I have going. And then I got started on the onions and the garlic. I added about a half an onion per pot, and I did include the top and the bottom of the onion. And then I added about half a bulb of garlic per pot, peels and all. Now I'm starting to add the herbs. I'm starting with rosemary. It's at this point that I remembered I had dehydrated rosemary that I've been wanting to go through, so I went ahead and added that. Entirely too much. That is way too much. I went back and took out about 50% of that. And then I added in some thyme and just the stems of the sage. And then I covered the pots and let them simmer on medium for about 4 hours until the vegetables and the bones just looked spent. And then I let it cool down and I put it in the fridge overnight. And then the next morning I was expecting to remove the fat that had solidified at the top, but to my surprise, there really wasn't a ton of fat. I just got started on the straining process, which required 2 bowls and 2 strainers. The first large strainer is to catch all of the bones and all of the vegetable pieces. And then I went ahead and put down a second bowl and ran the chicken broth through a fine mesh strainer to catch all the little pieces of herbs and stuff. And then I repeated this process for the second pot. I would have used a large pot and just did it all in one pot if I had it, but I don't have anything bigger than my 6-quart Dutch oven. Now that the broth is all cleaned, it's time to jar it up. I just pulled out a few mason jars, and I'm not going to can these jars because I don't have a pressure canner. All I have is a water bath canner, and you can't water bath can chicken broth. So I'm keeping 2 jars in my fridge for Thanksgiving, and then I'm putting the rest of the jars into the freezer where they'll be good for up to 6 months. So 2 chicken carcasses made me almost 6 medium-sized mason jars worth of broth. I had one that was just shy, and that is homemade chicken broth.